winter. Cold, crash. Shattered marble pillars grind, nothing left for men to find. Calcium dust upon the floor, hardware failing ancient war. Iron teeth and softened clay, winter strips the skin away. Femur snaps like frozen pine, I remap the royal line. Vector force upon the gate, binary decay of state. The rastic cage is split apart, steel is entering the heart. Infrastructure starts to leak, only metal parts can speak. Cortex burning in the cold, system failure uncontrolled. Calibrating every strike, blood is flowing down the pike. Metrics of the massacre, everything is now a blur. Logic gates are swinging wide, nowhere left for kings to hide. Nerve clusters ignite the flame, erase the data and the name. First snowflake on the hot ash falls, silence in the burnt out halls. Geometry of death is clear, marrow crystal sharp and near. Ribcage rattles in the gale, system failure on the scale. Burn the banner, freeze the bone, I am sitting on the throne. Melted gold crowns hit the stone, I reclaim the marrow bone. Smell of burning silk is rank, water fills the data tank. Ligaments begin to stretch, lines of code that death will sketch. Accent firing in the dark, extinguish every single spark. Carpal bones inside the fist, crushing everything they missed. Calibration of the blade, watch the color profiles fade. Vertebrae begin to stack, central processing is black. Thermal sensors going numb, wait to see the winter come. Oxygen is running low. Metabolism is slow. Synapse flicker, then they die. Underneath a frozen sky. Phalanx breaking into bits. Where the final horror sits. Kinetic energy exhausted. Everything is white and frosted. First snowflake on the hot ash falls, silence in the burnt out halls. Geometry of death is clear, marrow crystal sharp and near. Ribcage rattles in the gale, system failure on the scale. Burn the banner, freeze the bone, I am sitting on the throne. Optical nerve starts to fray, turning everything to gray. Cartilage and hardened steel, broken spokes on iron wheel. Mass and volume realigned, nothing of the past is signed. Membrane rupture in the skull, make the sensory data null. Hydrostatic pressure drops when the beating muscle stops. Atmospheric weight is heavy, breaching every blood red levy. Pelvic girdle grinds the gust, covered in the iron rust. Static filling up the ears, killing all the inner fears. Bones in the ash. Bones in the ash. Cold in the marrow. Cold in the marrow. Iron and ice. Iron and ice. Winter is here. Winter is here.
Iron teeth clatter on the granite peak. The system is failing and the marrow is weak. Gray clouds swallowing the dying sun. The calculation of the dark has begun. Frozen breath cracking on the iron bit. The logic of the glacier will never quit. Calcium shivers in the radius bone. The physics of the winter occupies the throne. Binary sequences in falling sleet, measuring the friction of the warrior's feet. Data of the zero in the frozen clay. Calibration errors wash the light away. The geometry of ice, pay the structural price. Grid
sacral joint.
Dead ravens scattered in the heavy snow. The thermal readings are dropping below. Scanning the horizon for a heat return, but the oxygen is too thin to burn. Tendons tighten like a stress cable wire, extinguishing the phantom of the internal fire. Femur and tibia vibrate with the shock. Sub-zero data in the fractured rock. Atmospheric pressure crushing the chest wall. The physics of the North dictates who will fall. Myelinated nerves misfiring in the dark. System rebooting without a single spark. The geometry of ice.
Cold is cold.
Pay the structural price. Grid lines freezing on the war-torn plain.
Hardware breaking under atmospheric strain.
The kinetic law is set.
Cold is cold.
Nature collects the dead. No mercy found in the freezing point.
Cold is the master of the sacral joint.
Cold is the variable we cannot change. Moving through the lethal frequency range. Rings of the casing for a pump that is slow. Velocity of wind is the only thing to know. Cartilage brittle as a shattered shield rim. Vision is glitching on the northern limb. Calibration of the blizzard is precise. Blood turning solid in a vein of ice.
Stutter in the circus.
Stutter in the pump.
The Arctic equation is standing alone.
Stutter in the circuit. Stutter in the pump.
The Arctic equation is standing alone.
Shield wall breaking into polygons of frost, accounting for the energy the flesh has lost. Burner brace stacking like a pillar of lead. Gravity is tolling at the living in the dead. Cornea freezing to the optical lens. Nature is cleansing all the valley and the glens. Hematite and iron in the frozen ground. Absolute silence is the only sound. No negotiation with the thermal state. The blizzard is the algorithm fixing fate. Daxoons are snapping in the whiteout bird. The biological failure will finally occur. The geometry of ice.
Cold is cold.
Pay the structural price. Grid lines freezing on the war-torn plain.
Hardware breaking under atmospheric strain.
The kinetic law is set.
Cold is cold.
Nature collects the dead. No mercy found in the freezing point.
Cold is the master of the sacral joint.
Synapse closing down to save the core. Physics is winning the eternal war. No breath left in the pulmonary tree. The frost is the only thing left to be. The 0% energy reserve. Road has conquered every single nerve.
To the hinges snap, gold is a failure, a logic trap. Coins trampled into mud deep in the clay. Iron is the hardware, ruling the day. Torn velvet banners under my heel. Recalibrate the flesh to the geometry of steel. I spit on the silver, it freezes to ice. Wealth is a glitch, a corrupted device. Hardware is heavy, the flesh is the source. Calibrate, impact, the vector of force. Rips all the rafters, the sternum is locked. System is moving, the binary shock. Burn the velvet, crush the crown. Heavy the iron, tear it down. Data in bones, cold in the marrow. Ribs are the bound, nerves are the arrow. Speed on the gold, speed on the gold. Species are written, warriors soul. Rusted iron axe head bites to the core. Physics of slaughter, the data of war. I don't need currency stored in a vault. I am the program, the lethal assault. Tendons are cables, stretched to the limit. Life is a matrix and I am within it. No more soft fabric, no more soft words. Only the static, the language of swords. Crush the ornament, break the design. Iron is absolute, iron is mine. Knee deep in treasury, waste to the king. Listen to how the calibration will ring. Burn the velvet, crush the crown. Heavy the iron, tear it down. Data in bones, gold in the marrow. Ribs are the bound, nerves are the arrow. Speed on the goal. eager to kill. Iron is data, iron is will. Swiggle the silver and watch it congeal. The physics of striking, all that is real. I get the process of blood is the fuel. War is the logic, the mighty will rule. Bone is the chassis, the tendon and care. I have embraced every sin and the fear. Broken the velvet and shed the silk. Tricking the phantom like mothers or milk. Zeros the ones in the swing of the blade. This is the geometry ancestors made. Trash every coin that you'll find in the dirt. Gata is power and Gata will hurt. Crush the crown.
Heavy the iron.
Tear it down.
Data in bones.
Cold in the marrow.
Ribs on the bone.
Nerves on the arrow.
Spit on the gold.
Spit on the gold.
Physics are written.
Warrior.
Soul.
Spit on the gold. Iron is cold. Cold is the bone. War is the throne.
The fire is dead. The data is clear. The winter is a machine. We are the gear. I pulled the leather belt to the last hole. No thermal energy inside the center of the bowl. Strip pine bark is the texture on the tongue. Frozen oxygen is filling up the lung. White cracked lips in the middle of the frost. Calculating every single unit that we lost. Hollow rib cages like a cage for a bird. Logic is the only thing that's ever really heard. Stomach shrinks to the size of a fist. Nothing but geometry inside the gray mist. Calcium and iron are the only laws of state. Calibrating hunger on the frozen iron plate. My nervous system is a circuit in the dark. Chewing on the fiber of the bitter bark.
Strip the bark.
Strip the bark.
Sharpen the mind.
Sharpen the mind
Leave all the weakness.
of the flesh behind.
The fast is the code.
The cold,
The hunger is the way.
the way, glory in the cold of the dying of the dead. Tendon snaps tight like a copper wire line. Process in the winter in a vertical design. The femur is a lever and the weight is a constant. The biological hardware is never truly dormant. Physics of the muscle as it carries all the load. Scanning for the enemy on the frozen dirt road. No chemical emotion, only ratios and math. Cutting through the tundra on a mathematical path. Stuck in the server and the fuel is running low. Watching for the movement in the data of the snow. Vertebrae aligned in a perfect power grid. Secret of the ancestors are never really hid. Synapse calibration at the edge of the fast. Nothing but the logic of the hardware will last. The geometry of combat is a binary choice. I do not have a soul, only frequency and voice. Muscles are the pistons in a cylinder of ice. Killing is the function and the hunger is the pride. Calibrate the shoulder for the impact of the shield. Scanning every vector on the frozen battlefield. My blood is a coolant and my stomach is a void. Any trace of mercy is systemic and destroy. Tighten up the sinew like a ratchet on a bolt. Waiting for the signal for the battery to jolt. Ancestral intelligence is locked inside the gene. The warrior is nothing but a biological machine. Jawbone grinding on the resin of the tree. Calculating odds of the total victory. Flaccid for a fortnight till the vision is a blade. Every single weakness in the circuitry will fade. Staging to Valhalla is a sequence in the head. I count the kilojoules in the bodies of the dead. The physics of the slaughter is a perfect equation. Starring in the camp is a tactical persuasion.
Strip the bark.
Strip the bark.
Sharpen the mind.
Sharpen the mind
Leave all the weakness.
of the flesh behind.
The fast is the code.
The cold,
The hunger is the way.
the way, glory in the cold of the dying of the dead. These are the rafters, the veins are the wires. We extinguish the flesh, we extinguish the fires. 1010, the fast is complete. The mind is the weapon, the mind is the heat. Metabolic shutdown for the clarity of sight. Frozen marrow worming in the middle of the night. Strip pine bark. Leather belt tight. Geometry of war. Data in the light.
face. Thigh deep snow drifts pressing hard. Watch the wide-out rearward guard. Numb toes clutch the frozen leather. Lock the ranks against the weather. Eyes fixed straight ahead and stale, pushing through the frozen gale. Calcium in the femur bones. Structure built of flesh and stone. Carbon, steel and tendon string. Hear the frozen axes ring. Geometry of marching lines, shifting under darkened pines. Analog, you step and grind. Leave the wasteful thought behind. Step one, step two, move until the nerve is blue. Step one, step two, run the frozen road too cold through. Calibration of the stride, nowhere left for flesh to hide. Ribcage serves as armor blade, entering the hardened state. Synapse firing cold and fast, make the frozen marrow last. Data points in blood and sleet, hardware burning in the feet. Physics of the frozen mass, waiting for the storm to pass. Kneecapping is lock and slide, nothing left to feel inside. Axley of the pelvic gird, speaking not a single word. Lower lumbar tacking strain, execute the marching chain. Those and Bacchus in the white coat is the only law of light. Those and Bacchus in the snow, hear the ensign hide, routics go. Those and Bacchus keep the form, we are the carbon in the storm. Those and Bacchus bone and steel, only the crunch is what we feel. Rear guard watching blinding haze, endless path of frozen days. Scapula and shoulder joint reach the navigation point. Oxygen is thin and cold, stoic systems take a hold. Skin is lattice wrapped in fur, make the vision conquer blur. Binary of left and right, marching out of human sight. Skulls are ready for the glow, buried in the thigh deep snow. Geometric shield wall grid, keep the mortal arrow hid. Tendon friction generates heat, thunder of the metal feet. Step one, step two, move until the nerve is blue. Step one, step two, run the frozen protocol through. Vertebrae in perfect stack, never looking at the track. Radius and Una aligned, Densant fury is defined. Metacarpal grips the haft, riding on the winter draft. System check on visual feed, whiteout is the only creed. Quick grade of frost and bile, marching for the final mile. Feisty cow constraints are void, all the weakness is destroyed. Blood is pumping oil and sludge, winter is the only judge. Nerves are fused to frozen ground, heavy is the marching sound. Flesh is the code, ice is the road, bone is the frame, war is the name. Taos and Bacchus in the white coat is the only law of light. Taos and Bacchus in the snow, hear the ensign hide, routics go. Taos and Bacchus keep the form, we are the carbon in the storm. Taos and Bacchus bone and steel, only the crunch is what we feel. Eyes fixed straight ahead, move until the nerve is dead. Eyes fixed straight ahead, move until the nerve is dead.
The code is a system of binary code. My blood is the data that starts to corrode. Blackened fingertips trace the steel on my hip. Logic governs the strength of the grip. Coagulated blood turn into ice. Survival demands this anatomical price. I nap the tear in intercostal space. There is no pain within the hardware interface. Poking a numb wound to check the degree. Calibrating the limb that belongs to me. I measure the gap in the radius bone. Processing trauma in this dead zone.
We are the geometry of war.
Writing the laws on the valley floor.
We are the geometry of war.
Writing the laws on the valley floor. Pretended the wires cut clean. The axe is the input. the machine. Unblinking I stare at the burning sky, computing the angles at which arrows fly. My marrow is frozen, my nerves are on fire, increasing the tension on the internal wire. Scanning the damage to the seventh rib. I don't need a pulse, I don't need an ad-lib. Physics of impact, the weight of the shield, analyzing the friction across the frozen field. My femur is iron, my patella is locked. The entire structure has been properly shocked.
An iron will in a frozen frame.
Every wound is a number and name.
An iron will in a frozen frame.
Every wound is a number and name. Testing the drock and the ligament chain, deleting the synapse responsible for pain. The thoracic cavity is cold and hollow, tracing the path that the heavy blade follow. Scanning the fissure in the parietal plate, quantifying fury in this savage state. The spine is a pillar of hard unyielding stone, measuring the pressure applied to the bone. My system is stable, the vials are clear. There is no utility in the concept of fear. Armor is data and flesh is the key, unlocking the limits of what I can be.
Bone meets steel in the northern lights.
Nerve meets frost in the ancient night.
Meets steel in the northern lights.
Nerve meets frost in the ancient nights. Locating the breach in the dermal layer. I am the victim and I am the slayer. Processing the cold, that's a structural gain. I have reconfigured the flow in the vein. My metacarpals are fused to the hilt. This is the house that the ancestors built. The geometry holds and the vectors are true. I am the weapon performing for you. Closing the loop on the operational test. There is no program designed for rest. Execution is flawless. The cycle is thick. The blood and the iron have properly mixed.
An iron will in a frozen frame.
Every wound is a number and name.
An iron will in a frozen frame.
Every wound is a number and name. System check complete. Structure integrity upheld. Operational limits mapped.
The valley is locked in a vector of white. I program the dark to extinguish the light. The boy is a statue of carbon and bone. I sit on the ice like a king on the throne. His pulse is a signal that's starting to fail. I write the command in the heart of the gale. My ribs are the cages of tungsten and lead. I count every digit of everyone dead. Frost on the lashes and ice on the skin. I close the gate so the cold can get in.
Shallow me short, press and adapt.
Shallow me short, press and down. Grinding molars lock the jaw. Broken biceps by the law. Scarring at the horizon cold. Store eyes of the iron never told. My nervous system is freezing to steel. Not a singlet at the point of feel. Skull is the shell for the raven to stay. I lock the human as pecs away. Odin, Odin, Odin war. Odin, Odin, Odin war. Odin, Odin, Odin war. Calibration of tendons in sub-zero air. A hardware reset of the weight that I bear. The geometry of ribs keeps the vacuum inside. There is no software for where we can hide. I see his eyes turning to marble and glass. I watch the slow data of seasons to pass. Vertebrae clicking like gears in a clock. I turn the key and I engage the lock. My marrow is frozen to wires of gold. I am the processor, ancient and old. My ligaments snap like the branch of a pine. I'm drawing a hard-coded border in line. The marrow is stagnant, the marrow is still. I yield to the logic of iron and will. No signal in nerves, no motion in curves. Blood is the fluid the engine requires, burning the ash of the ancestral fire. Staring at the horizon line, watching a valley become the day sign. Grinding molars lock the jaw, broken biceps by the law. Staring at the horizon cold, stories of the iron never told. Under ghost system is freezing to steel, not a single data point to feel. Skull is the shell for the raven to stay. I lock the human as pexel. The boy is a sculpture of frost in the fear. I shed not a drop, not a saltwater tear. My jaw is a weld that will never be broke. I am the fire and I am the smoke. I measure the oxygen thinning and dry. I watch the red sun as it bleeds in the sky. Ligaments tight like a bowstring in brain. I disconnect every receptor of pain. Hardware is heavy, the software is dead. I carry the weight of the crown in my head. Cursed is the land in the sky and the sea. Nothing is left of the person in me. 1 0 1 0 0 and none. Watching the freezing of feather and sun. 1 0 1 0 0 and none. Watching the freezing of feather and sun. Staring at the horizon. Staring at the horizon. Shallow breaths. Lock the jaw.
I map the geometry, I find the fault. Locked in the logic of the marrow vault. Calcium struts in the carbon frame. I cleared the system and I stripped the name. Exposed collarbones white in the dark. Strike the ignition, I wait for the spark. Cervical vertebrae stacked on a line. Tracing the data through the curve of the spine. Forces applied to the fulcrum of skin. Let the recalibration begin. I see the radius, I see the flaw. Obey the physics, obey the law. Bruise knuckles tight on the pivot point. Applying the pressure to the ball and joint. Breathe in the ozone, breathe in the moss. Calculating gain from the physical law.
It is just levers.
It is just gears. Delete the biology, silence the fears.
It is just pulleys.
It is just code. Carry the weight of the heavy load.
Reboot the skeleton.
Fix the machine. Solder the tendons where the fracture is clean.
Snap of dry wood.
Snap of dry wood. Done for the tribe and done for the good. Scan for the rupture, scan for the break. Processing input of the physical shape. Tibia shaft is a piston of ash. Wait for the sink, wait for the crash. On our nerve is a high-speed wire. Conducting the signal, conducting the fire. Torque the femur and rotate the hip. Tighten the bolts so the gears don't slip. I am the code of the smith and the priest. Taming the architecture of the beast. No abstract mercy, no hollow grace. Just the alignment of the structural space. Patella hinges a rusted gate. Forcing the lever to carry the weight. Bruised knuckle stained with the grease and the oil. Work in the darkness, work in the soil.
It is just levers.
It is just gears. Delete the biology, silence the fears.
It is just pulleys.
It is just code. Carry the weight of the heavy load.
Remove the skeleton.
Fix the machine. Solder the tendons where the fracture is clean.
Snap of dry wood.
Snap of dry wood. Done for the tribe and done for the good. Calibrate, calibrate. Isolate, isolate. Force the hinge, force the hinge. Fix the fringe, Scapula plays like a shield in the dirt. Quantify damage, process and hurt. No ghost in the shell, just the iron and pith. I am the healer, I am the smith. Data in bone, written in stone. Metacouple braces locked in the grip. Don't let the tension, don't let us lift the lens. Just extending a claw in the mud. Pumping the coolant, pumping the blood. I see the hinge and I see the strut. Fixing the machine where the flesh is cut. Binary map with a pulse in the vein. Quantify damage, process and strain. Ribcage housing for the pump in the chest. Put the mechanics, put them to the test. I don't need mercy, I don't need light. Just a leverage, just a might. Bruise knuckles heavy, bruise knuckles hard. Watch the perimeter, watch the guard. Snap a dry wood in the silence of dark. I leave the wound, I leave the
It is just levers.
It is just gear. Delete the biology, silence the fears.
It is just pulleys.
It is just code. Carry the weight of the heavy load.
Reboot the skeleton.
Fix the machine, so that the tendons where the fracture is clean.
Snap of dry wood.
Snap a dry wood. Done for the drive and done for the good. Lever and pulley.
Lever and pulley.
Reset the frame.
Reset the frame.
No more spirit.
No more name.
Just the physics.
Just a bone.
Left in the 10.
All alone. Against the wrist, calibrate the fatal twist. Knees are clicking, marrow dry. Data shows the weak have lied. Friction burn across the palm. Keep the pulse rate flat and calm. Sever sinew, cut the thread. Calculate the weight of dead. Trap the weak in the fog below. Watch the bodies lose the glow. Iron will and ancient code. Clear the rubble off the road. War and clean the slate. Gravity will fix the weight. No more limping, no more weight. Enter Valhalla through the gate. Nerve-ending snap like frozen pine. Geometry of the front line. One man down is data loss. Cutting rope is worth the cost. Safety tether sliced and frayed. Depth of movement fully paid. Shoulder blades like iron gears. No room for the leaking tears. Scan the column.
Scan the column.
Purge the error.
Purge the error.
Fix the sequence.
Fix the sequence.
End the terror.
End the terror.
Body falling through the grave. Physics takes the trash away. Silently into the mist. Cross the failure off the list. Turning back and moving on. Weakest variable is gone. Ribs are locked in battle mesh. Processing the human flesh. Bone and ash. Bone and ash. Cut the rope and make the dash. Force grit grinding in the gear. We are not the ones who fear. System upgrade. Winter storm. Let the Arctic re-inform. Ankle joint is cracked in two. Nothing more that God can do. Algorithm speed is king. Let the heavy axis swing. Our dry beating in the chest. Put the useless need to rest. Scraping flint to keep the edge. Standing on the canyon ledge. Drop the weak in the fog below. Watch the bodies lose the glow. Iron will and ancient code. Clear the rubble off the road. Reboot war and clean the slate. Gravity will fix the weight. No more limping, no more weight. Enter Valhalla through the gate. Column move.
Flesh remove.
Code improve. Column move.
Flesh remove.
Code improve.
Scraping rust. Calculating mass. The lineage is heavy. The physics are absolute. Scraping dust from the lip of the blade, calculating mass and the pull of the weight. Grandfather's shield is a burden of lead. I choose the lightness of living instead. Friction burn on my palm and my skin, counting the calories needed to win. Physics of war in the howling gale. Logic of iron will always prevail. Tendon tension is locked in the wrist, sifting the data through winter and mist. Ancestral geometry failing the test. I rip the iron away from my chest. System alert in the marrow and nerve, mapping the art of the strike and the curve. Bare hands testing the grip of the new. Co-calibration is long overdue.
Weighing scales made of bone in the snow.
Heavy tradition is starting to go.
Discarded heirloom is sinking in mud.
I won't trade calories for ancient blood.
Ribs are tight,
Bone and iron,
nerves
are cold. Bone and iron, discard of half. Bone and iron,
the body
is gold. Bone and iron, radius and humorous align, leaving the heavy traditions behind. Thermal efficiency lost in the swing. I refuse the weight of a dead warrior king. Anatomy dictates the speed of the blade. I measure the cost of the vows that you made. Kinetic energy wasted on pride. I let the bulk of the heritage slide. The code of the combat is written in cells, not in the echo of temple and bells. Nerve endings fire at the point of the grip, testing the friction so fingers don't slip. Calculating torque at the pivot of hip, letting the memory of lineage drip. Calibration complete in the center of mass, watching the shadow of centuries pass. No soul in the wood, no ghost in the steel. Just the geometry, just how the tendons feel. Weighing scales made of bone don't lie. The old ways burden, the old ways die. Testing the density, testing the load, executing the survival code.
Weighing scales made of bone in the snow.
Heavy tradition is starting to go.
Discarded heirloom is sinking in mud.
I won't trade calories for ancient blood.
Ribs are tight,
Bone and iron,
nerves
are cold. Bone and iron, discard the past. Bone and iron,
the body
is gold. Bone and iron, stripping the layers to optimize frame. I don't need the weight of a family name. Ligament strength is a quantified fact, keeping the integrity ratio intact. Grandfather died from the drag of the rim. I won't let the gravity suffocate him. Discarded shield is a data point zero. I am a machine, not a myth, not a hero. Physical laws the only command, testing the balance with man freezing hands. Scraping the rust from the mind of me eye, watching the ancestral efficiency die. Oxygen levels and glucose and heat, measured by scales at the arch of my feet. The tundra is empty, the tundra is vast. I am the version that is built to last. Mass reduce, velocity increase. The blood depth to the past is released. Scraping rust, bare hands, calibration complete.
Standing on the ridge where the data turns to ice, feeding my anatomy to pay the winter's price. Exposed rib cage where the oxygen is thin, freezing the perimeter of the parchment of my skin. Calibration of the pulse in the center of the bone. The rhythm of the predator is carved into the stone. My central nervous system is a circuit in the storm. The law of physics dictates that the blood is never warm. I kill the nerve, hold the line and never swerve. Stormborn system reset, warrior, cold-blooded threat. Reset the system, kill the nerve, hold the line, never swerve. Reset the system, kill the nerve, hold the line, never swerve. Hill striking bare chest like a hammer in the forge. Glacier water rushing through the center of the gorge. Purple bruised flesh turning black against the white. Scanning the horizon for the coming of the light. Sensory input is a virus in the brain. Calibrating synapses to ignore the pulse of pain. Geometry of iron in the structure of the jaw. Living by the sequence of the fundamental law. The code is written in the marrow and the grit. The fire of the furnace is the only thing that's lit. No retreat, input, no shelter in the fire. Walking through the frozen gate mile after mile. Steam rising from shoulders as the internal core burns. Saying that the marrow is the only thing that turns. Arms wide open to the biting of the gale. I am the anvil to the striking of the hail. Bent nerve endings mean the armor is complete. Victory is rendered in the absence of the heat. Tendons tighten like the string upon a bow. Watch the frozen red ink spill across the snow. I kill the nerve. Hold the line and never swerve. Stormborn system resets. Warrior, cold-blooded threat. Reset the system. Kill the nerve. Hold the line. Never swerve. Reset the system. Kill the nerve. Hold the line. Never swerve. My ribs are the rafters of a temple made of meat. Calculating distances I never know defeat. The data stream is frozen in the tunnels of the eye. I do not require mercy from the winter in the sky. Axes in the shadows, the geometry of war. I am reaching levels that I never saw before. Calibrating muscles for the impact of the steel. Losing the capacity to actually feel. I am the algorithm, I am the blade. I look into the depths of the system I have made. Bones of the ancestors are harder than the frost. Calculating victory, ignoring what is lost. Arms wide open. Purple bruised flesh. Steam rising, nerves dead. No shelter ahead, only war. The permafrost is closing on the radius bone. The signal to noise ratio is mine alone. Stiff frozen corpses litter every sector grid. I purge the biological errors that they hid. The thorax is a cage of iron and of lead. The failed units are rotting in the frozen bed. The algorithm dictates that the weak must fall. I stand against the geometry of the winter wall. The synaptic pathway is a frozen wire. I discarded the concept of the internal fire. My tendons are calibrated to the Arctic degree. There is no residual data left inside of me.
One man standing straight.
In the field of ice, I pay the anatomical calibrated price.
One man standing straight.
Where the others fell, I am the hard drive of the Nordic hill.
My reps are steel and my marrow is stone. I reign on the frozen geometry throne.
The code of the wolf is the physics of war. I am the survivor of the ancient code. Ice hanging from a beard like a jagged shards. I am rebooting all the internal defense cards. The nervous system is a grid of pure graphite. I am the frequency that shatters the northern night. My cartilage is hardened into diamond plates. I am the one who recalculates the warrior fates. The hemodynamic pressure is at optimal peak. There is no physical utility for the weak. I scan the horizon for the incoming data storm. My outer casing is the only functional form. The joint lubrication is a synthetic grease. In the logic of the battle, there is never peace. Crush the soft tissue and the organ waste. Leave the limitations in the Arctic haste. Feed the fiber optics to the muscle strand. I am the only architect of this land. Calibrate the fist for the impact load. Write the victory into the system code. My lungs are bellows of a frozen forge. I am the monolith in the the mountain goes. I took the tasting of a frozen metal canteen. It is the only vessel that the squad had seen. I slam it on the granite, watch the plastic shatter. The liquid inside does not physically matter. Ice shards and remnants are scattered in the snow. The biorhythms of the fallen are registering low. I do not process the concept of the missing friend. I only calculate the vectors to the bitter end. My spinal column is a pillar of reinforced steel. I do not have the hardware required to feel the atmospheric pressure cannot break my rims. I am the truth beyond the biological fear.
Then standing straight
In the field of ice, I pay the anatomical calibrated price.
Then standing straight
Where the others fell, I am the hard dry goes the Nordic hill.
My reps are steel and my marrow is stone. I reign on the frozen geometry throne. The code of the wolf
Is the physics of war. I am the survivor of the ancient core. The grid is clear, the weakness is purged. The man in the machine have finally merged. Only the granite and the logic remains. Static is roaming through my anatomical veins.
System start, the iron is cold. Calibration set, the story is old. Friction heat in the knuckle joint. Blade trajectory precise, the point. Scapular rotation torque is high. Calculated arc against the sky. Oxygen pump through the bronchial gate. Bone and marrow, pure binary weight. Axe on fire, the signal is clear. Nerve conduction, 0% fear. Armor plating, the rib cage is locked. External stimuli brutally shocked. Tendon tension, the string is tight. Infrared vision piercing the night. Muscle fiber, synthetic strength. Axe handle grip measured in length. Axe string rhythm, clockwork force. Crushing bone, no remorse. Blood spray, oil black and thick. Heartbeat, hammer, click, click, click. Let us scream, the battle is raw. Physics bind the only law. Pistons of flesh, power revealed. Grinding iron on the shield. Target lock, the radius is thin. Epidermis rupture punctured the skin. Cranial geometry split in the half. Digital violence, the killing grab. Serratus contraction pulling the blade. Anatomic failure, the debt is paid. Cartilage crunch, a standard sound. Weighted impact drive to the ground. Radius, all that structural snap. Closing the distance, short in the gap. Vertebrae crush, a sequence of code. Heavy machinery, heavy the load. Ligament tear, the bio strain. Chemical logic bypassing the pain. Shoulder socket, pivot and slide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. X-wing rhythm, clockwork force. Crushing bone, no remorse. Blood spray, oil black and thick. Heartbeat, hammer, click, click, click. Data stream, the battle is raw. Physics bind the only law. Pistons of flesh, power revealed. Grinding iron on the shield. Eyes roll black, the system is white. Overdrive mode, feeding the fight. Total surrender, the mechanic is free. Violent algebra, the power of 3. Sub-zero logic, the heart is a pump. Adrenaline data, the signal will jump. Clavicle fracture, the angle is right. Kinetic energy blinding the sight. Phalanges grip the oaken shaft. Ancient geometry, warcraft draft. Blood lubrication, red hydraulics flow. Where the metal meets the marrow, we know. Calibrated till the sequence is done. Neural network, the many are one. Fibula shatter, the pedestal falls. Hear how the iron's Valhalla calls. Ribs are scaffolding.
Nerves are wiring.
Teeth are grinders.
Marrow is fuel.
No fatigue detected.
No mercy program.
That is the hero.
Just the mechanics. Just the velocity.
Banish the fear. Rhythm, clockwork force. Crushing bone, no remorse. Blood spray, oil black and thick. Heartbeat, hammer, click, click, click. Data stream, the battle is raw. Physics bind the only law. Pistons of flesh, power revealed. Grinding iron on the shield. Heartbeat, hammer. Heartbeat, hammer. Heartbeat, hammer.
Press the cheek to frozen crust, ancestor in iron rust. Stare is flat against the shelf, scanning data from the self. Blue eyes walls are closing in, binary of mortal sin. I trace the rune on frozen glass, watching ancient physics pass. Frozen faces locked in stare, cold geometry is there. Flesh is gone but ribs remain, calibrating strength from pain. Deep below the pressure grows, where the marrow circuit flows. Iron will within the silt, where the monolith was built.
Hear the poem called command from the deep.
Waking the nerve ending while they sleep.
Calibrate the X in the frozen grip.
Let the blood data on the ice cold drip.
Rips all the shield for the engine of war.
We carry the geometry of those who came before. Tracing veins like copper wire, fueling up the inner fire. Calcium and carbon lock, system reboot, battle shock. Echoes from deep below the floor, opening the mortal door. Tendons pull the heavy weight, physics of a war on stage. Shields are coded for the clash, turning flesh into the ash. Always set in rigid form, navigating through the storm. Every nerve is lighting up, drinking from the iron cup. Skull is housing ancient code, walking on the frozen road.
Deep in the crevice, the ghosts all speak.
Strengthening the fibers of the weak.
Physics of the dead command the living.
Hard and cold and unforgiving.
Bone and marrow, flight as straight as any arrow.
Connect those circuit to the ancient land.
Tracing the rune with a frozen hand. Hear the bone call command from the deep.
Waking the nerve ending while they sleep.
Calibrate the axe in the frozen grip.
Let the blood data on the ice cold drip.
Rips all the shield for the engine of war.
We carry the geometry of those who came before. Glacial shift in every stride, nowhere left for weak to hide. Anatomy of ancient hate, operating at the gate. Frozen faces screaming silence, coded for the purest violence. Valves are pumping frozen lead, orders from the buried dead. Keep the piston in the chest, never let the muscles rest. Logic of the Viking blade, by the laws of physics made. Grind the teeth and push the line, human hardware is divine. Trace the map inside the frost, counting up the battle cost.
Ice walls.
Static in the marrow,
Data in the bone.
pacing the room.
System offline. Snow melts slow on the frozen tongue. Oxygen is short in the mutated lung. I am the vessel, I am the glacier. System reboot, biological erasure. Teeth click hard on the iron bit. Snow melts slow where the shadows sit. Lungs expand in the frozen chest. Biological data system test. Rib cage locking like a wooden shield. I will never break, I will never yield. Spine is a pillar of calcified stone. Geometry perfect in the radius bone. Heart beating once in the 60-second gap. Mapping the winter on the thermal map. Cold calibration of the central nerve. Killing the weakness that I don't deserve. Nerve bending fire in the binary code. Heavy boots crush on the tundra road. Skull is a helmet of reinforced glass. Waiting for the seconds and the minutes to pass. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Blood is the antifreeze, make the vow. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Frozen is the axe, frozen is the brow. Pupils dilated to the jagged edge. Standing on the rim of the mountain ledge. Optical sensors, infrared sight. Navigating data in the dead of night. Tendons are cables of braided steel. I am the logic, I am the wheel. Marrow is frozen to a diamond core. This is the physics of a primitive war. Axe handle welded to the metacarpal grip. I do not falter, I do not slip. Femur is aligned to the gravity law. Ice in the gut, ice in the jaw. Synapses firing at the sub-zero ray. Closing the lock on the heavy gate. Skin is a barrier, skin is a hole. Nothing is empty inside of the skull. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Blood is the antifreeze, make the vow. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Frozen is the axe, frozen is the brow. Boom, 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 boom. Bones grind hard. Grind hard. Life is a yard. Is a yard. Calibration set. Set now. Cold sweat. Sweat now. Axe sunned and dried. Wrath is clear. I do not process the frequency of fear. Shield wall protocol. Active state. Biological clock. Navigate the hate. Physics of the blade. Physics of the coal. System is ancient. System is old. Iron in the marrow. Iron in the bit. Every single pixel. Every single hit. Blood is a sludge in the femoral line. I am the pattern, I am the design. Vertebrae stacking like a fortress wall. I am the winter, I am the fall. Ligaments tighten on the shoulder joint. Everything leads to the terminal point. Scanning the horizon for the banner of red. I am the living, I am the dead. Heart beating once in a minute of time. Scaling the glacier, scaling the climb. Nervous system is a hardwired grid. Doing the damage that the ancestors did. Physics of impact, physics of pain. I am the program, I am the rain. Muscle is fiber, muscle is grain. Closing is the willpower inside the vein. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Blood is the antifreeze, make the vow. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Frozen is the axe, frozen is the brow. Veins pumping thick black fluid now. Blood is the antifreeze, make the bow. Heartbeat 1, daylight is gone. Heartbeat 2, code is the true. Heartbeat 3, code in me.
Gray skin, hard bone. Cold marrow, dead zone. Calibration, bone set. Ice lock, iron threat. Skin turns grey like lid. Logic loops inside the head. Joints locking in the code. Ancient binary takes hold. Snow drifting over boots. Ice binding all the roots. Sun blink and stare at the dark. System failing every spark. Calcium turns into slate. Standing at the mounting gate. Vertebrae stack like a wall. Waiting for the physics call. Shield is frozen to the fist. Vanishing into the mist. Cartilage is turning hard. Statue standing on the guard.
Stillness is the only call.
streams inside the vein. Cold is deadening the pain. Tendons tighten into steel. Nerves forgetting how to feel. Geometry of the ribs feeding from the iron cribs. Coordinates are locked in tight, absorbing every bit of light. Sternum is a plate of mail. Heart is slowing down the scale. Calibration of the breath, simulating vocal death. Optics frozen on the past. Skin is turning into glass. Femur anchored in the mud. Granite swallowing the blood.
Stillness is the only cause.
Ice is carrying the load.
Stillness is the only law.
Frozen grip without a flow.
Stone,
Coefficient
stone,
magnificent
stone,
algorithm
stone.
crushing rising.
I am the mountain design. Trace the logic of the line. Ligament is fused to rock. System in a total lock. Architect of frozen time. Climbing out of organic slime. Vice to CS in the upper jaw. Nature is a broken saw. Terminal the body goes. Black ice on the frozen toes. Eyeballs turn to polished quartz. Shutting down the sensor reports. Gravity is my only king. Hear the metal lattice ring. Iron in the marrow cell. Freezing in the battle shell. Stillness is the only cause.
Ice is carrying the load.
Stillness is the only law.
Frozen grip without a flow. Gray skin, lock joints, zero data, final point. Metal clanging against stone.
Scanning the horizon for a thermal sign. System is failing on the outer line. Vital conditions lock the visual feed. Code is the geometry of broken need. I inhale sharp ice like a shattered glass. Watching the seconds of the sequence pass. My ribs are rafters in a burning hall. Wait for the logic of the snow to fall. Calibration lost in the frozen muck. Shield wall is cracking and the gears are stuck. Nerves are shorting out in the binary frost. Count the megabytes of the warrior's lost. Tendons tighten like a frozen bow. Nowhere left for the corpus to go. The wind is screaming in the auditory node. I am the catastrophe, the winter cold. Marrow is turning into glacier stone. I am the blizzard in the nerve and bone. I stand alone. I stand alone. Losing sight of hands in the static cloud. Wrap the anatomy in a frozen shroud. Axes are heavy in the numb grip. Block time is a glitch in the granite rock. Data is bleeding from the open gash. Every memory is bone and gnash. I calculate the vectors of the killing gale. Nothing is left but the iron and the hail. Disconnecting from the physical map. Falling directly into nature trap. Sub-zero logic in the synapse fire. Climbing the rungs of the frozen fire. Absolute zero in the frozen brain. The wind is screaming in the auditory node. I am the catastrophe, the winter cold. Marrow is turning into glacier stone. I am the blizzard in the nerve and bone. I stand alone. I stand alone. My femur is a pillar of the Norse. northern sky. Watch the last pixel of the daylight die. Spell is a helmet for the void inside. Nowhere for the beating heart to hide. Muscle is fusing with the permafrost. Identity is the only payment cost. Valhalla awaits the rigidized ghost, marching forever on the frozen coast.
Scanning for a pulse in the white, dissolving into the eternal night.
Frozen ground. I map the data on the battlefield mound. My glowing silver eyes parse the gray light. I process the logic of the winter I hover cold above the newly dead. I read the binary in the blood they shed. My fib is turning to ice in the gale. I verify the hardware beneath the mail. Steel meets the ribcage, fracture in the wall. I track the physics of the warrior fall. I pass the bone marrow for the iron core. I download the sequence of the total war. Calibrated tension in the tendon strand. I measure the pressure in the sword hand. Input the data from the severed nerve. I map the vector of the killing curve. The vertebrae alignment is a perfect row. I see the frequency of the hammer blow. The physics of the impact of absolute law. I find no error in the skeletal flaw.
I am the chooser.
I claim the weapons for the final stage.
I am the
I
changer.
turn the marrow into data rage. I hover high above the bone and ash. I am the system in the axe crash. My silver eyes define the killing grid. I claim the body where the ghost was hid. Scan the skull plate for the trauma sign. I check the pulse point on the jugular line. Geometry of agony is etched in the skin. I launch the protocol for the war within. The rib cage is a vault for the engine room. I mark the target in the frozen gloom. The femur fracture is a mathematical fact. I verify the strength of the battle pact. Telemetry data from the open wound. I see the rhythm where the heart was tuned. The nervous system is a wire and fire. I strip the circuitry of the war desire. Logic of the blade edge is the only truth. I see the history in the broken tooth. Calibration stable in the shoulder joint. I reach the apex of the trigger point. System overload. The bone code is sold.
Geometry.
Death telemetry.
Tethers to ice.
The blood is the price.
I claim the frame. I write the name. I am the chooser.
I claim the weapons for the final stage.
I am the changer.
I turn the marrow into data rage. I hover high above the bone and ash. I am the system in the axe crash. My silver eyes define the killing grid. I claim the body where the ghost was hid.
is a frozen load. Binary horror in the ancient code. Steel in the tendons is a hard design. Killing geometry in the straight line. Calibration starts in the vertebrae. Nerves are igniting in the grid of gray. Thermal raid in the optic nerve. Iron reflexes with the killing curves. Strike. Spears hit the ice in a single beat. Strike. Frozen data under heavy feet. Strike. Cracks in the surface are a map of war. Logic of the hammer at the temple door. Ribcage locking like a shield wall gate. Architecture rising with the mass of weight. Capillaries pumping in the force routine. Vascular pressure in the war machine. Ligaments stretching like a bowstring. Tight processing the darkness into blinding light. Jawbone grinding on a bit of fact. Anatomic structure in a mortal pact. Code in the muscle, code in the grip. Physics of the axe on a downward trip. Data in the blood is a poison stream. Nerves are vibrating with the static scream. Kinetic energy is building fast. Frozen silence is a thing of past. Bone and iron in a cold sink. Stomping on the ice until the river sink. Geometry of slips and the physics of the blade. Calibrated killers that the gods have made. Thousands of breaths in a cloud of white. Data driving theory in the dead of night. Cracking the lake with a thunder sound. Claiming the laws of the frozen ground. Slope is a housing for a tactical aim. Logic coded in a blood red name. Cartilage hardening to granite shale. Hardware moving through the winter gale. Joints are hinges on a heavy door. Calculated impact on the valley floor. Vertebrae stacking in the perfect stack. Protocol of murder and there's no way back. Strike. Spears hit the ice in a single beat. Strike. Frozen data under heavy feet. Strike. Cracks in the surface are a map of war. Strike. Logic of the hammer at the temple door. System engaged. Ice is broken. Words of the marrow have been spoken.
Dum da da dum da. Down from the peak with the weight of the lead. Boulders are pushed with the gravity fed. Tree snapping under the boot and the heel. Iron is heavy and colder than steel. Lichen is crushed on the face of the rock. Systems are failing under the shock. We are the glacier that grinds on the stone. Static is biting the marrow of bone. Vanguard is moving with physical law. Grinding the valley with iron and jaw. No one is swerving, we follow the path. Simple as logic and deadly as math. The rumbling starts in the radius of pain. The pressure is rising in every vein. Calibration, the force in the dust. Axes are ready for metal and rust.
Wall of spiked shields.
Wall of spiked shields.
Flat in the fields.
Flat in the fields.
Geometry.
Locked in the kill. Nothing can broken the iron of
Wall of spiked shields.
Wall of spiked shields.
Nobody yields.
Nobody yields.
Data is written in ashes and red. Counting the bodies and counting the dead.
Processing slaughter in binary codes. Carving the mountain and closing the roads. Algorithms set for the shattering blow. Rivers of crimson beginning to flow. Axes are calibrated, perfect and true. Cutting the muscle and splitting the view. Rib cages open like pages of text. Solving the problem of who is the next. Synapses inspiring the signal to strike. Everything level and everything like. Hard drive of history restoring the greed. We are the only solution you need. Dum 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 da 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 dum 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 da 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 dum 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 da 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 dum 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 dum. 10 random. The stretching like cables of wire, fueling the engine of terror and fire. Nerves are connected to hollow and cold, doing exactly this we have been told. Physics of impact is heavy and deep, falling like avalanches on the steep. No rigidity here, only the mass, shattering everything, turning to glass. Carrying weight of the ancestor chain, linked to the hardware inside of the brain. Axes are swinging in rhythms of lead, painting the geometry over the dead. Boulders are pushed, trees are snapping, rumbling earth, nowhere left. Earthquake solid and heavy and slow, nothing can stop where the conquerors go.
Wall of spike shields,
flat
in the
fields,
geometry,
locked in the guild, nothing can broken the iron of will.
spike shields,
Wall of spike shields,
nobody yields.
Data
is written in ashes of red, counting the bodies and counting the dirt.
Scanning the horizon for traces of life, cutting the data with edge of the knife, calibrating the end of the day, sweeping the rubbish and debris away. Skeleton Femric is holding the shield, forcing the living to finally yield. Fascia torn from the meat in the frame, nobody less who remembers the name. Architecture, ruin and smoke, taking the oxygen, living the choke. Gravity wind at the end of the march, walking through under the victory arch. Crushing the marrow, crushing the bone, geometry of the grave, system shut dum da da dum da.
Against the palm, I cut the skin deep. Blood on the ice, promises I keep. Hot blood steaming on snow, rising in the frost. Calculating heat transfer, measuring the cost. Calibrating tendons, locking in the grip. Salt inside the marrow, let the logic slip. Fingers painting a shield, throwing out the code. Mapping out the trauma on this frozen road. Red on white, Stormborn strike, bone and light. Red on white, battle hard, eternal night. I am kneeling in the drift, eyes locked on the enemy. Processing the data of this coming killing remedy. Iron in the atmosphere, iron in the nerve. Geometry of violence, blotting out the curve. Ancestral fury uploaded to the brain, bypassing the wiring of the physical pain. Wet runes on the wood, wet wounds on the fist. Nothing but the data in this freezing mist. Crack the ribs, snap the spine. Blood is the ink, war is the line. Axe in the socket, cold in the breath. Systems are override, ready for death. Gods on the monitor, ravens in the feed. Calculating carnage, everything we need. Bone meets the iron like a hammer to the nail. Physics of the impact, never gonna fail. Scan the horizon for the flicker of the steel. Grinding down the marrow on the battle wheel. Freshly cut palm, pressing down the seal. Nothing in the vacuum is ever gonna heal. My ribs are the armor, my skull is the base. War is the program written on my face. calculated carnage, everything we need. Hot blood steaming on snow, fingers painting a shield. No more healing left, only the battlefield.
Shield wall active, system check. Boot on the throat and hand on the neck. Na 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 na. The geometry of the front line is set. The frozen earth is the only asset. Vector locked on the sender mass. Calculating velocity, ready to pass. Synchronized breath in the oxygen tank. Scanning the gap in the opposing flank. Iron and muscle in a fixed binary. Turning a stripe on the stationary. Peripheral vision is locking the grid. Doing the damage the ancestors did. Calibrating the torque of the shoulder blade. Price of the entry is
Already paid.
pressure is rising in the vascular tube. Processing death in a digital cube.
Splintering oak as the barrier breaks. Total corruption of valley estates.
Iron biting deep into jugular flesh.
System reboot and the bloody mesh.
Teeth flying through the frozen air. Jaw structure shattered beyond repair. The crunch of skulls in the low hertz range.
Physics of murder will never change.
Ribcage crushing under heavy impact. Breaking the code of the civilized pack. Locating the nerve in the elbow joint. Applying the force to the optimal point. Splitting the sternum, the axis, the core. Data is leaking all over the floor. Calibration of the downward swing. Hear how the stretched out tendon sing. Marrow was spilling like oil from a drain. Short ticket firing inside of the brain. Geometry mapping the spray of the vein. Processing nothing but physical pains. Everest snapping in half like a reed. Running the program at maximum speed.
Maximum speed, maximum bleed.
Shoulder dislocated out of the socket. Kinetic energy fast as a rocket. Lungs are collapsing and losing the air. Nothing is left but the biological scare. Hardware is grinding on calcium struts. Opening holes in the lining of guts. Code of the Viking is written in lead. Counting the latency
Inside the dead.
Physics is neutral, the impact is cold. Flesh cannot handle the weight of the old. Static is filling the sensory field. Broken anatomy refusing to yield. The nerve endings burning a permanent trace. Deleting the features away from the face.
Splintering oak as the barrier breaks. Total corruption of valley estates.
Iron biting deep into jugular flesh.
System reboot and the bloody mesh.
Teeth flying through the frozen air. Jaw structure shatter beyond repair. The crunch of skulls in the low hertz range.
Physics of murder will never change.
Force multipliers in every fist. Adding another to the obsolete list.
Obsolete.
Synapses misfiring deep in the stack. No way to patch it or bring the lights back. Vertebrae cracking one after the next. Reading the gore like a technical text. Ligaments tearing away from the base. Heat map of violence all over the place. Oxygen levels are dropping to zero. Logic is conquest, not being a hero. Executing the final sequence of blows. How the biological clock actually goes. Bones grinding down into granular dust. Iron is beating its biological lust. Data the finalized, uploading the wind. Scribbing the sin off the surface of sin. Irremovable striking and into the void. Anatomical structure is fully destroyed. Calibrating the weight of the corpses it piles. Mapping the damage for thousands of miles. System disabled.
Green Aurora ribbons slice the dark sky code. Blood pools on permafrost where the iron's stowed. Lifeless eyes staring where the data is dead. Ancient geometry in the splattering red. Steel meets the scapula, a hardware crash. Burning the horizon into bone and ash. Nervous system floating in the frozen mud. High definition stream of the warm black blood. Calibrating and guish on a massive scale. Armor-plating shatters like a broken shell. Titanium ethos in the northern storm. Function over flesh where the steel is born. Max on a dendrite fired in the fray. System degradation at the end of day. Cartilage is crushed by the hammer weight. Entering the valley through the iron gate. Femur snapping loud in the silent air. Algorithmic slaughter in the raven stare. Geometry of the X on the skull plate. Marching precision for a mortal fate. And unfrished and torn like a frayed wire loop. Raven circling down in a hardware swoop. Froze-tended rigor mortis in the permafrost. Calculating value of the living lost. Physics of the blade cutting through the groin. Paying for the war with the blood-soaked coin. Vertebrae disconnect from the central node. Carnage is the language of the ancestral mode. Green lights watch the morrow freeze. Dying men upon their knees. No salvation in the glare. Silence above the screaming air. Northern storm in purple. Coldest code we ever know. Iron will and frozen bone. Warlords on a static throne. Mounting nerve exposed to the burning sky. Watching like reflect as the brothers die. Etiology of the battlefield. Broken geometry of the shattered shield. Owner nerve is fired by the piercing cold. Stories of the structure that the gods unfold. Carve fiber memory in the dust and silt. Knowing every section of the iron hilt. Muscle fiber failure in the bitter gale. No more life remaining in the mortal veil. Odin is a processor of the valiant dead. Feeding on the binary of the blood we shed. Rips and ravens. Cold and carnage. Machilla shattered by the hilt of gold. Geometric fireness of the days of old. Subcutaneous bleeding in the purple mist. Dying with the fury of a battle fist. Calibrated straight through the sternum plate. Open up the chest for the heaven's gate. No more pulse located in the wrist or neck. Leave the human structure as a burning wreck. Froze fluorescent membranes in the sky above. Void of any pity, void of any love. Statistics of slaughter on the glacier floor. This is the reality of eternal war. Green lights watch the morrow freeze. Dying men up on their knees. No salvation in the glare. Silence above the screaming air. Northern storm in purple hue. Coldest code we ever knew. Iron will and frozen bone. Warlords on the static throne. No warm light for the fallen flesh. Only the sky in a digital mesh. Tendons snap like titan strings. Above the noise, the silence sings. Radius and ulna stepped. In the permafrost we're trapped. Calculate the final breath. Geometry.
Dum 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 dum. Code breath. Cold breath visible in the hollow hall. Ice pillars rising, blue shadows fall. Mead is a crystal inside the horn. Biological data is stripped and torn. Axe blade shimmer in the zero light. Physics of slaughter in the endless night. Boots hit the pavement, heavy and slow. Calibration error in the pulse below.
Thrones made of weapons.
A jack design.
System failure.
At the end of the line.
No golden gates.
Only iron and frost. Total delete of the lives we lost. Geometry cold in the warrior brain. Data transfer of the ancient pain. Bone and ash, coloring and code.
This is the end of the glorious road.
Spinal column is a structural beam. Nerves are shorting in the frozen stream. Shields clash hard on the granite floor. Enter the program of eternal war. Tendons snapping like a rusted wire. Cold logic burning with a chemical fire. Scanning the enemy, lock on the target. Blood on the ice in the digital market.
Drones made of weapons.
A jag design.
System failure.
At the end of the line.
No golden gates.
Only iron and frost. Total delete of the lives we lost. Geometry cold in the warrior brain. Data transfer of the ancient pain.
Bone and ash,
Coloring and code.
this is the end of the glorious road.
Marrow is frozen in the skeletal cage. Reading the input of the ancestral rage. Geometry perfect in the swing of the blade. Payment is rendered for the debts we paid. Processing agony bit by bit. Into the abyss where the warlords sit. Rib cage opening, exposing the core. Nothing but data in the engine of war. Skull is a processor grinding the fact. Physics governing the final act. Sinew is tension pulling the string. Listen to how the frozen blades ring. Cortex mapping the terrain of the void. Organic matter has been fully destroyed. Binary vulture circling overhead. Counting the calories of the warrior dead. Calibrate the pain. Lungs collapsing in the vacuum space. No God found in this frozen place. Algorithm blood flows black and thick. Time is a clock with a heavy click. Shield wall buffering holding the gate. Hardware crushing under mountain weight. Connect the nerve to the jagged throne. Static screaming through the hollow bone. Ribs all snapping in a rhythmic sound. No peace rating in the frozen ground. Round.
Drones made of weapons.
A jag design.
System failure.
At the end of the line.
No golden gates.
Only iron and frost. Total delete of the lives we lost. Geometry cold in the warrior brain. Data transfer of the ancient pain. Bone and ash, coloring and code.
This is the end of the glorious road.
Code ends now.
System offline.
Binary ghost. Frozen arrow.
Final frame. Masonry terminate. The name. I sit on the steel in the jagged shard. The data flow runs through the marrow hard. My ribs are the cage for a ticking clock. The tendons are tight as the furnace lock. I wear the crown of black ice tonight. I kill the summer and extinguish light. The physics of cold in the marrow deep. The laws of the frost are the laws I keep. My spine is a pillar of frozen lead. The old world is lying in the snowbank dead. I calibrate death with the fist of stone. I carve the new language in the pelvic bone. Northern storm. The continent covered in snow. Iron will. The 0 point starting to grow. No rebirth. The geometry of the grave. We are the masters. The code is the only thing brave. I reach out the grid in the shattered shield. The mercury is on the killing field. The nervous system is a wire grid. I burn every memory the ancestors did. My teeth are the keys to the Arctic gate. I hardwire the flesh to a frozen fate. 1 million bodies in the state of rest. The pressure is sinking in the hollow chest. The calculation of the axis weight. I open the file and I seal the hate. The valley is silent where the blood was spilled. The prophecy is physically now fulfilled. Northern storm. The continent covered in snow. Iron will. The 0 point starting to grow. No rebirth. The geometry of the grave. We are the masters. The code is the only thing brave. Silence. Static. The heart is not empathetic. The binary system rhythm of the skulls on the floor. We don't need the sunlight anymore. Physically frozen, physically locked. The gates of the heavens are finally blocked. No more feelings, only the fact. The contract is signed in a frozen pact. I hold of the frozen severed head. I stare at the ice where the light is leather. Corn is glass and the skin is grey. I put the compassion and the hope away. My hands are the tool for the ice marching. The white to the map is the only scene. The muscles are rigid as the iron rail. I laugh at the weak and I laugh at the frail. I'm mapped to the rain with the cervical eye. Under a war-torn and empty sky. The matrix of winter is perfectly set. The blood is too solid to ever be wet. I held every figure raw left to the dirt. I am the end of the concept of earth. The system is doubtful, the system is pure. The only disease with the wanting and pure. My throne is a file of the Shatter Blade. I sicked in the darkness, the printer has made the cartilage freckles. The atmosphere breaks. I am the god of the shiver and quakes. No spring, no ghost, no. The cold is the king and the cold is the horn. Storm, northern storm. The continent covered in snow. Iron will, the 0 point starting to grow. No rebirth, the geometry of the growth.